What's up everyone, and welcome back to Fiction Tea Review. So today we're going to talk about the horror thriller film that just came out this year, 2020. It's rated R, called Antebellum. About an hour and 45 minutes. It's rated R. You can watch it on YouTube. I believe you can purchase it on YouTube and Amazon. Just right before I start, just gonna let you guys know this is going to be a spoiler review. Like, I'm going to spoil everything. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to hear any spoilers, you might want to click off this video, go watch it, and then come back. It's directed by Gerard Bush and Christopher Renz. It stars Janellemonae as Veronica / Eden, Tangai Krissa as Eli Stokes, Kirstie Clemens as Shoshana, Eric Lange as Senator Blake. I know I'm butchering these people's names like crazy. Gabri Sidibe as Bridget, and Lily Cowells as Sarah. So, it's about successful author Veronica, who finds herself trapped in a horrifying reality where she is basically a slave. So first off, I just want to say I had no intentions of seeing this film. I was not really interested in seeing it, honestly. I wasn't really like, oh my god, I really want to see this movie. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, it looked interesting. And it has Janelle Monáe in it. But then when I saw the preview, I was like, oh, this is about to be about slavery. And I wasn't really feeling it, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance. Just so happened to come across it, and I was like, you know, I'm going to watch that movie. Maybe it's just a little bit of slavery. It's not like fully about slavery, and nope, I was wrong. Personally, I'm not a fan of slavery films. I don't remember the last slavery film that I've watched since this one. I literally cannot remember, because once you've seen one slavery film, you kind of seen them all. And the thing about slavery films, they like to reiterate trauma and purposely constantly beat on the whole slavery and pain thing, which is like, of course it's happened, but do we really need 50,000 slavery movies to basically say that this happened and show that it happened 1,000,001 times over and over and over? I honestly wish that Black actors would stop participating in these movies and just stop doing them altogether. You know, just don't even, if you get casted, just don't participate in the movie. Don't go audition for the movie. It's just like the same old story. Like, I wish that actors and actresses would just not audition for this stuff. When I watched this film, I just had to ask the question of, why do we need this? What's the message? What's the theme? Why do we need this movie? Didn't we just get Harriet Tubman? Like, why do we need this film? That was the main question when I watched this. Also, the question came up of, how come we never see any other slave movies from other races reiterated this much? Like, there's so many Black slavery movies that it's just out of this world. The amount of Black slavery movies, as if that was all we did, that was all our history. Like, and it'll just be like the same thing over and over. It'll be like, we know that this happened, we see that it's happening, and it's always the same storyline. You never get like other cultures, other ethnicities, other races who have been through slavery movies shown constantly, because there's pretty much a story about slavery for every single race and every single culture, and you never see it played out so much and so brutally too, to this extent, when it comes down to, in comparison to Black slavery or Black horror. It's just like, why is that? So interesting, we get this quote from William Faulkner, the famous writer William Faulkner, and it basically talks about how the past is never over. The past is not just the past. The past keeps going on. It continues. And that really sets the tone, and also sets the theme of what this is going to be about. It sets the theme of what this is and how the past is coming back to haunt them. and how the past is never over in some way. First, I'm going to talk about the visuals. So the visuals were really good, actually. I enjoyed the colors that we use visually, artistically in this. I enjoyed that scene in the beginning where Eli was kind of screaming to his lover, and there was no dialogue, but you could see like their mouths screaming and yelling, and she was from her skin tone to the bright green that she had on, the way it all looked is just beautifully done. And I loved how that story was told without them even having to say anything. You can feel that intense emotion, that pain that they were going through as they were being torn apart, and she was trying to run and get away. Clothing choice just popped, and it was very visually pleasing. I mean, the style of this entire thing, like especially on the women, just looks so good. Janelle Monae's, like, whoever did her costume design, just, it was on point. That was probably like one of the upsides of this, was the costume design. It was really good. The acting was intense, striking, and very, very, very brutal with the characters, with the racist characters who were the slave owners, with the torturous, beating, harsh slave scene. It really makes you think about like how in slavery times these people would beat black people, beat brown people, beat black people, bloody, kill them, and then they would go to sleep that same night as if what they just did is not humane, what they just did is not completely downright insane and inhumane. They still like slept good at night as if it was just all okay. Yeah, the characters really have this like lack of empathy, lack of compassion, nor like a care in the world, because even if they needed workers, why did they have to brutally beat them to this extent, torture them, kill them in these ways? Why not just make them work? Why torture them? Why chain them up the way they were chained up? Like, a lot about the characters when you think about why the torture and why this particular type of torture. It's one thing to, you're already enslaving these people, then you're gonna torture them. Animalistic. I also found it really interesting that the white woman and the white male had kind of two different interests. You had the white woman who was interested in Shoshanda, I think her name was. The white woman, she kind of had like this disdain, this dislike towards Veronica, but she was interested in Shoshanda. She gave her a name. She let her child name her like she was a freaking pet. And then the white male, he really was fond of Veronica and named her Eden. And I just thought that was interesting, the two different dynamics shared between the male and the female of the white slave owners, and how they both had different interests within the two different characters, their complexion and their approach, their stance, and it was just really interesting. Also, the scene with the burning cotton, I was just kind of like, what is this symbolism with this burning cotton? Did anybody pick up on that? My first thought was like, I know they're not making them pick the cotton, then burn the cotton, then re-pick the cotton. Like, that is just torture. But I'm thinking maybe the burning cotton symbolized something else, but I just didn't figure it out. Also, the scene with Shoshana's character, if I'm saying her name right, Shoshana's character played by Kiersey Clemons, I don't understand why she was so upset at Veronica, and she like started calling her names and was like, you're scared, and I'm just like, how are you gonna try to, you came to her begging, and then when she said, you know, I can't help you right now, or you gotta chill right now because they're gonna kill you, and she warns you, you all of a sudden just upset and calling her names, and I'm just like, how are you gonna try to blame her because she doesn't want to risk her life for you? And first off, when did she become like the leader in all this? Like, I mean, yeah, it's important to have a leader, but why did they specifically make her the leader? Like, why was everyone looking to her to be the one to guide them? And why were they not guiding themselves and coming up with their own solutions? Like, and then get the nerve to be mad at her because of it? Like, as if she doesn't have her own life? What? I was just confused. When I think about stuff like that, I do think about colorism highlighted in certain aspects, and how she wasn't like really, really dark skin, but she was like brown skin, and how she was kind of looked up as the leader. The brown skinned woman was looked up as the leader, and they just kind of made her automatically like the leader. Like, I don't know how that came to be. I don't know if because of her position. Maybe it's because of her position and her regular career, but it was just really interesting how they specifically made her like that person. Scenes that really got me was first the scene in the beginning with Veronica when she was getting tortured. Like, they went straight into that brutal scene of her getting tortured, and I'm just like, the trauma, and I'm triggered. Like, that made me question, like, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I watching this? I said I wasn't gonna watch anymore like slavery stuff. Also, the scene with Shoshana, she was having her miscarriage on the cotton field. Guys, I literally was about to cry because I imagine like black people back in the day. I imagine my ancestors, black women who were pregnant or had a miscarriage and still had to work, and how slave owners didn't give a flying F if they were pregnant, if they were having miscarriages, if they were on their menstrual cycle. Just imagine having to pick cotton. You already got to pick cotton in the blazing, scorching, burning heat all day, every day. And if you don't, you're going to get a whip to your back while the scorching heat is on your back. Then imagine being pregnant on top of that. Imagine having a miscarriage and you can't mourn your child and you're just bleeding. Imagine being on your period and you're just bleeding and you still have to work and you're in pain and agony. Like, that really hit me hard. Like, I was like, this is terrible. Then you had the scene with Eli and Veronica, and it was just so hurtful to see because they couldn't even mourn their loved ones or their friends or even their own lives, the pain that they're going through. Like, they couldn't mourn in peace. They couldn't really mourn at all. Eli, he had to mourn in the place where his lover was basically burned alive and killed, and he had to kind of suppress his emotions and cry in there. And then Veronica, she had to stuff blankets in her mouth to compress and suffocate her sounds and her emotions, and I'm just like, this is so freaking effed up. Also, I feel like Veronica could have expanded more with explaining to her daughter like what the situation was with that guy and what really was going on. I mean, her daughter didn't look like she was too young. I feel like she would understand. I mean, kids are actually quite smart, especially if you tell them things. Like, I don't know, I just felt like she kind of brushed over it and didn't really explain as much as she probably could have. Now let's talk about the characters. So we have this character who, the white woman, she was like the villain with like the red lipstick and everything. And we had the character of the little girl who was her daughter, but also played like just like one of those, supposed to be like one of those creepy characters. The white woman, her acting was kind of like this snooty, snobby lady. She was like very snooty, and her acting was so terrible. She was not a good villain. She was just not a good actor. Honestly, all the characters on here were just not really that good at acting. I just have to be honest. Like, the acting was not really that good. I don't know if it's because of the material that they had to work with, because the writing kind of sucked too. So this whole movie just kind of went down the drain for me. And especially the scene where Veronica was in the elevator with the little girl and they did this like cringy horror scene. Like, they tried to be like classic horror where they're like, shh, you know, something creepy happens, but like, it wasn't creepy, and it was just like really kind of cringy and weird to me. And I was just like, the acting is just terrible from the little girl, and it's just terrible. Like, no, it's not working for me. And then like the mom who was playing like the villain woman, who was like video chatting with Veronica, she had such like a poor choice of words, and it was just really uneasy. I didn't like what she said and how she said it. She said, "Oh, that's your daughter? She can be my daughter's companion." And I'm just like, companion? She is not a dog. Companion? She's not a dog. She's not a pet. Why couldn't you say friend? Why'd you use that specific word? Like, it rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, no. One thing I did like was the best friend, Bridget, played by Gabri Siddle. I think I butchered that, but Her name's Gabby, played by Gabby. She mentioned about Veronica being like, you're only human, like don't overwork yourself, be kind to yourself. And I love how that was mentioned because, you know, there's this whole stereotype of black women being kind of these superhuman beings and being stereotyped to just be, you know, work, 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 work. And even you start to get that about yourself. Black women have these expectations even for themselves because of society of like, you have to work all the time, you have to, because you have to strive, so you put a lot of work and a lot of pressure on yourself. So it was really important that they mentioned that and showed that she's a human just like everyone else. Like, you don't have to overdo it or overwork yourself. Like, you be kind to yourself. Also, I'm sorry, but that speech that Veronica gave was kind of cringy for me because it felt so scripted. Like, it I don't know if it just didn't fit in that part. Like, and then there was like a Asata Shakur quote. I'm like, it just kind of seems disingenuous. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. The thing was, privilege was kind of showed a little bit, where Sarah, the friend, talked about how she was treated fine at the hotel. She was treated nice and kindly. And then Veronica and Bridget kind of look at each other like, yeah, of course you were treated kindly because you're a white woman and we are black women. So obviously, it wasn't talked about, but it was like briefly shown. And also how they were treated when they first came in. And then Bridget had to check them real quick. I really liked Bridget. I really liked her character. I feel like her character should have got way more shine than it did. Honestly, I talked about it having bad acting, but her acting was actually pretty good, and she was probably like the best character on the show, honestly. And as far as her acting skills, and she could have got way more shine than what she got. I also had to question if she was just used as like the plus size friend trope, kind of like the sidekick of the main character. You guys know what I'm talking about. I questioned that and was like, are they trying to make her a trope here? I don't know. And of course, lastly, there was some symbolism of them calling Veronica Eden, which is the Garden of Eden in the Bible, and how the Garden of Eden is basically the tree of life, gives life to the earth. Tree of knowledge as well, which makes so much sense because she's a black woman. Basically, it was forbidden for Adam and Eve. I think mainly Adam. I'm not sure the whole thing fully in some way. And it also kind of makes sense because the slave owner guy was having sex with her, raping her. And it's in a weird kind of twisted way, she was like the forbidden fruit that they weren't supposed to have, but they would rape, if that makes any sense. And I thought that was interesting how they used that. But overall, would I recommend this film? I would not. I would not recommend this film. I'm sorry. It honestly sucked while I was watching it. I think like one-third way through it, I was just kind of over the movie. But I was like, I kind of have to finish it and see what's going to happen. But there were really no surprises to me. It's the same old stuff that they do. I mean, it was supposed to be horror, and I know slavery is definitely 100% horrific. That's not what I'm saying. But the storyline was nothing new. I had no idea who these characters were, where they came from, what was the purpose of all this. I mean, I know the purpose, slavery, hatred, but you know, like the story, the movie itself didn't really have a full message, a full purpose. And honestly, it just seemed like it was something that was made for pure entertainment and didn't really have like a real solidness to it. Like, it was just like they just made it to traumatize and trigger black people and brown people because of the times, and it's entertaining. Like, that's literally it. And I was just like kind of like, I'm not impressed. And the writing just was kind of all over the place, to be honest. Like I said, it seemed pretty pointless to me personally. Really should have expanded on the whole antebellum thing. I mean, of course we know like it's about slavery and torture and all those things, but there should have been some history talked about the whole antebellum Renaissance role-playing thing that they turned into like a real thing. I would have liked to seen some backstory about it, about the characters, about, you know, we just kind of went from the slavery thing back to her life, back to the slavery thing, and it was kind of like, Yeah, there was no lesson, no message, and not for me. If you guys like this review, please give this a thumbs up. Comment below, let me know your thoughts about this film. I would like to hear other people's ideas. Did you guys like it? If so, what did you like about it? Did you not like it? What did you not like about it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really interested in hearing about it. And I will see you all next time. Don't forget to hit that notification bell to get notified for future videos. And be sure to get you a copy of my book, Rain. It's a psychological thriller about a group of young adults in a psych ward who think they're just going to stay in there for the rest of their lives. They all have mental illnesses. They're getting experimented on. They get this new counselor that's trying to help them get out, but he also has a secret motive. He came there for his brother, and he finds out that these kids are getting experimented on. He's trying to understand how and learn how to help them while also getting himself out, but then he learns that he's connected to them in some way. And so if you're interested, please hit the link in the description box below, or you can go to this website, kaleidoscopearts.net, my personal website to support me. I have art merch, I have books, I have more books coming, more art merch coming, more art coming. So yeah, go in there, check it out. Also, you can attach yourself to my email list so that we can talk all things books. So we can talk about my book, and I will be doing lessons soon. I'll be doing lessons soon to teach about how you can become a self-published author. So be sure to attach yourself to my email. Send me an email at this email, and I will see you all next time.